That completes the deck class. We're now going to move on to the hand class. So instances of the hand class will be used for the human, computer, and community cards. So it'll either hold 2 human cards, 2 computer cards, or 3, 4, or 5 community cards. So the way it's going to be initialized is with a list of card instances. That's important. Let's get started here, and then we'll cover the rest. So class hand. So as usual, you're almost always going to define an init. That's what happens during initialization. Cards will be a list of card instances. So we will just create a variable over here that are cards. And we'll begin with this. And so to do this, we'll say hand equals hand. And we're going to create these cards. So we'll say card, a list of these. So card 24, maybe card 15, say a human or a computer was dealt these 2 cards. So look closely, this is a list of 2 cards like this. Now if we output it, we get this ugly default representation. We can look at the list cards like this, so we get the nice string representation because each individual card has a nice one, but not the hand itself. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to have a nice representation of the entire hand itself. So we'll say we will now define a repr special method, and what we'll do is we'll first convert these into strings. So we'll say we'll make a card string something like this, and we'll say repr of card or card in self.card. So this is a built-in function that will force this object to be a string, to use its string representation. So repr will force the call of the underlying dunder repr method. So remember, each individual card, right, we're just forcing it to be a string. We want to see the string representation. All right. And so what we're going to return, what we're going to do is we're going to separate this by a space. We're going to use the join method of a string method. So we're going to say this space, we're going to join together this list of strings. So this just creates a list of strings, and maybe we can say list of card strings, but that's okay. Card string list or something like this. It's a better name. Anyway, so now when we look at our hand, it'll just show it as, it'll represent it as this. So that's very nice. We can make this, even longer. Maybe this, something like that. Okay, so there's a nice hand. All right, so that's the repr. We're also going to add a get item, so allow us to select a single or individual cards. So again, it will be passed whatever is given in the square brackets. So we'll just do this. This will allow us to do something like this, hand of, say, 5. That isn't too much because there's only 4. We could say, just get this individual card like that, get the last one, and so forth. So that's what this get item does. It allows us to use our object directly with the square brackets. And lastly, I'm going to define a special add method. And what this add method will do is allow us to use the plus sign, the plus operator. So let's say we want to add 2 hands together, right? Like hand 1 and hand 2. So what we'll do here is we'll say self.cards plus other.cards. So we have to assume that other is a hand object, and we're going to get the cards underlying. So this is a list. You can add 2 lists together like this, right? There's we've talked about that. We can concatenate 2 lists like this. And what we'll do is we'll just call the hand itself again. So we'll force it to be another hand. So it'll reinitialize whatever this new list is of these cards, and we'll create a new hand object like that. Okay, so let's do that. So say this is, we'll call this hand 1 now, and then we'll have hand 2. Let's make it something else. Let's say 53, 2, 18, something like this. Okay, here's hand 1, here's hand 2. Now we can use the plus sign like this, and it will add them together, and it'll create a new hand object. We can even call it hand 3, and you can see that hand 3 is just another hand object, but it has a nice representation over here. It's just sort of added them together. So that's what this add does. It says, hey, pass in the other part to the right of the plus sign into this method, and then you can do whatever you want with it. You can return whatever you want over here. In this case, we're returning a new hand object that's constructed from the underlying cards list. So it's using the ability of the list to work with the plus sign in order to use the plus sign for the actual hand objects. All right, so pretty cool, all these special methods that allow you to do all sorts of this magic in Python, have it interact with the different operators. So you'll see how this all makes sense once we get to building the actual poker. You'll see we will be using the plus sign, and the representation just makes for a nice string representation when we output to the screen, because our game will be, text-based. So this really makes things nice as well.